It's on a couple of levels actually. I reckon one, the actual achievement of getting it done for Jared, it being something that he can actually tick off the list, I guess, one of many things. So there's the personal achievement thing and the team building and all that sort of stuff that goes with the training and the process and getting that end goal done and everything in between.
Solo, 20. There's no one job description in the sense that it has to be a person who has a capacity to be an endurance-based swimmer. But I think I recruit my teams, I don't advertise for my team. So I will be on this journey and I will identify and perhaps train in some respects, and then select that team member for the actual crossing, because you really can't advertise and have a person sort of stick up their hand. It's about who you come across in the environment. And as we, as human beings, as we travel through our own lifespan, we come across a whole range of different people and how you identify those strengths. And they may not have those strengths currently as a guide swimmer, but it's how you develop upon their communication, their enthusiasm, their determination. And some you will think are going to be fantastic, but whilst in that training process you may think, okay, well, this is as far as I'll come. Perhaps I might be just like competing at the Paralympic Games for 3 decades. World was it 17 World Championships and multiple Paralympic Games. All my guide runners, some were there for recovery runs, some and many of them I was actually faster than them. And I would do recovery runs, hill reps, road runs, endurance runs, whatever it may be. And then I had my competitive athletes who were there purely for competition. And that's because that was a skill that they had. They may not be very good on, for example, on an endurance hunt because perhaps they weren't very good at talking, or perhaps they got distracted very easily, or perhaps they weren't about thinking about their own space, wider than their own space for an endurance run. So each of them had their own particular skills, and I would have to identify those skills, and if I didn't, then I was placing myself at risk, because you have to be able to think outside your own space, and not many people actually can do that. And that's where swimming and guide swimmers have to do that as well, because they have to think about their space in water as well as my space in water.
Yeah, we're setting out to swim around 20 k's around Great Keppel Island and spend 8 hours or so in the water and come out and celebrate our success. And this is the first time that a totally blind person will be swimming around Great Keppel Island. And in addition to that, there's Kerry-Lee and her husband Paul that also have disabilities. So essentially it's a relay with 3 disabled people swimming around Great Keppel for the first time as well.
I think there's always an allure of circumnavigating something. I think as a swimmer, going around something is a real sense of achievement, as opposed to just swimming up and back in a pool or going from one length of the beach and turning around and coming back. I think that whole concept of going around something is really quite captivating. And I think, Keppel's 20 k's, it's not a small island. Like a 20k island is a big deal. So to be even involved in just a part of that is really special. I don't have to be doing the whole thing to feel that this is actually kind of cool. Going around one of Australia's most well-known islands is great.
The ocean is calm. It's the water's sort of kissing the edge of the beach here, and hopefully come tomorrow it'll be a very calm and somewhat relaxing, whilst endurance based, but swim around the actual island. And now we know we're going clockwise, so it's I suppose a good thing to keep in my mind, because my guides will be on the beach side, so I'll feel versa before they get the impact of the wave.
Our conditions, I can tell, are very horrible. It's flat and no wind, so it could be a little bit boring. And the plan is to, well, as long as the swimmers keep the island on the right hand side, it's all going according to plan.
Oh, just going to jump in and try and enjoy it. I think just try and get around the island and enjoy these awesome conditions.
What are other conditions like today?
Flat, clear, no wind, sunny. Yeah,
You
pretty.
guys got a power, or it makes no difference to plan to plan?
Probably doesn't make too much difference to the plan. I think we're going in a clockwise direction. That just depends on the wind and the currents. If Val's worked out, so we'll just. I mean, hopefully, it sounds like we won't have much wind to deal with on the other far side of the island, so that'll make it easier for us. Fingers crossed these conditions hold up anyway.
It's interesting, when I first started on this little adventure, my focus was really all about Jared. And it is, when you're swimming, when you're doing the actual work, it is all about Jared. Getting him from point A to B as a swim guide. But the more that I work with this team, they came out of nowhere. I'm gonna have to take a drink of water. We spend a lot of time with each other in the car, driving around to where we're swimming, and it's just been amazing to get to know each person in the team. And this is just the beginning, right? Like, we've got 12 months, and I just can't wait to find out how we gel as a team, and the way it's going now, it's just perfect. The obvious things that come to mind are trust, respect, similar values, but there's something there that I can't put my finger on. Like, it's just, we all gel really well.
So when I'm swimming with Jared, I'm watching his stroke under the water. And so when I can, I'll match my stroke to his, because it gives us a better dynamic of propulsion when we're moving forward. But it also depends on what's going around. So at the moment, when we're swimming, there's lots of boats around, there's other paddlers, there's other swimmers. So it's keeping an eye on where they're positioned. Like, about 2 bays back, there was a boat that was doing a relay changeover, and they were busy watching their changeover. They weren't watching who was in front. So it was, our job just to go, well, we're just going to either pull left or we're just going to hold back a little bit. I actually asked Hayley, our paddler, to come and be between us and that boat so they could see her more than what they could see us. So when we're swimming with Jared, I think, or for myself, it's definitely 1 stroke for me and 3 strokes for him. We have practiced this when we've been out in the open surf. When it's been a really smooth, clear day, we'll kind of play around with our stroke rates, whether it's nice for us to both have right arms going, right arm, left arm, or whether it's both to have the inside arm stroking at the same time, and that's definitely the better one. I also think about my own swimming when I'm on my own, so I can think about my hand position, my elbow position, if I'm catching the water. I can think about my hip position, whether I'm sitting on top of the water or if I'm sinking in. Sometimes I'll just get into a meditation of counting. So I just count to myself as I go. Sometimes it's about playing around with my breathing. So can I breathe every 3, 5, 7, 9? How high can I hold my breath before I take my next breath? That's pretty fun. And then every now and then you'll be thinking about random stuff, like what are those 3 blokes on that boat talking about right now as they stick a camera down in the water? Do they realise how close they're coming and how long this tether cord can actually stretch? Is Jared in imminent danger?
I think I'm actually embracing the opportunity. I'm not running towards the opportunity because it wasn't something that I had on a list that I had to achieve. And it was not something that I'm running from because I have to achieve it to achieve another purpose. It was embraced that, like for example, as I was with Dancing with the Stars, it wasn't an opportunity I was aiming for. A person presented it to me, I embraced it and took it on. And the same whether it be with triathlon, for example. Troy Grice, who I bumped into quite literally at the Yeronga pool, said to me, "Jared, have you ever?" He recognised me from what I'd done, and he said, "Jared, have you ever done a triathlon?" I said, "No, I've never done a triathlon," and because I hated swimming, seriously hated, because I'm a runner, so I hated swimming. And he said, "Would you like to do a triathlon?" And I embraced it. I wasn't running towards it, and I wasn't running from it. I said, "Yeah, sure, fine." And 6 years later, World Championships and representing Australia at the Commonwealth Games, and that was the journey. As it was in climbing Everest, I didn't have this foresight to go and climb Everest. I was speaking at a function. I was offered the opportunity to go to Everest, and that grew from there to actually climb Everest. So it was about building those teams around me, and they all have been very different teams, whether it be from a climbing team to a triathlon team to now a swimming team.
So we've come up against little challenges as we do all the way along this, because we're not making it up exactly as we go, but a lot of the things that we come up against we haven't experienced, and I don't know that many people would have experienced. We're working with a totally blind person, and we are all swimmers, and this is different though. This is where we're adapting our swimming styles, and we have to work together. One thing that I've been thinking about recently is, I think because we want to do the best that we can for Jared when we're actually swimming with him as a guide, there potentially could be a temptation just to keep going. And I think one of the things that we need to be conscious of, and I think we could do this because we're always looking out for each other, is knowing when we need to let each other know that, maybe it's time to swap over, as an example. Yeah, one thing I've noticed about this team is we are really genuinely always looking out for each other. It's not just all about Jared.
I love the sport. I love being in the water. I love being out in the open. It's just something almost cathartic's not quite the right word, but it's a place of peace being out in the ocean there. But it's also really nice to be able to be involved in events that probably 5 years ago I didn't think that I'd actually be able to do. So being able to challenge my body to doing some fairly big distances and compete in events that I wouldn't have expected to be able to do. think it was just not knowing quite what my body was capable of. So because I'm only kicking, I'm like, well, there's only so much that legs can do. I mean, swimming is predominantly an upper body sport, and most of your power comes from your arms. So I thought, well, in the event of rough conditions or chop or, you know, a huge sweep, what will my body actually be able to withstand? So it started off with a pretty chuffed when I did a 3K swim. I was like, okay, 3K is great, I can handle that. And I thought, oh, if I could do 3Ks, I could probably tackle a 5K. So I did my first ever 5K swim down in Malabar in Sydney, and those conditions are hectic. They're always hectic, they never calm. It's just next level chop and swell, and it's horrendous. And I managed the 5Ks there, and I think once I'd sort of cracked that 5K distance, I thought, well, maybe it's time to start thinking about a 10K. There's a really great word in Afrikaans. I'm from South Africa, so I love the phrase fussbait. And fussbait basically just means bite hard, show a bit of grit, and you just keep going. And I think until I'd done that 10K, I didn't understand how it actually felt to fussbait, where you reach that point of, you know what, I actually don't want to do this anymore, but I'm going to, and I'm going to find something to keep going. That's what I wanted to feel.
Guys, we're at the end of the 5th annual, or the main event for the weekend, 20K swim. We have a Jared's team just turning around Monkey Point, about 2.5K to go, maybe 45 more minutes. What a day it was, and what a day it is. Love it, absolutely love it. We'll do it again and again and again and again. So happy to be here and watch them.
Without my team, it wasn't possible. Like, you know, they were all, you know, in their own characteristics critical for, you know, today's success, because as you saw at times there were some challenging moments and some pretty hairy moments. But the food was good, the support crew were good, the boats were good, and to have both Kerry-Lee and Paul here to complete two things at once was fantastic. But yeah, look, it's an overwhelming experience. I know if you had asked me, you know, 25, 30 years ago about swimming around Great Keppel Island, well, there we have. I've done it, and that's you know, I could scream, but I'll probably scare everyone here right now if I scream. But yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's
It was actually brilliant. Loved it. Loved being in the water. Loved circumnavigating a very big island. Swimming with new friends, meeting new friends is great. Beauty. It was clean. It was calm. It varied from time to time. We had a bit of head-on chop to begin with, and then got picked up by the current and swept along for the end. But it was great. So lovely. So much to see down there. It was just magic. Really magic.
I saw a really good team, actually, is what I saw today. I saw people interested in how each person is faring. I saw lots of good communication in there. I didn't feel like we pushed as hard as initially as we might have done when we had first started out doing ocean swimming. When we first started out, I think we got a lot of excitement and adrenaline, and we didn't know how to control that. Whereas today was a much better control. And I think that the speed actually is holding. I don't feel like it's gone up, gone down. I actually think the speed is holding.
Jared is, aside from I think what most people see, I think most people call Jared an inspirational person. That's the main thing that you hear people say. For me, it's interesting because I've only known Jared for I've only known Jared for the best part of 18 months. Jared is, if I could sum it up in a few words, I reckon kind, driven, super generous, adventurous, caring. Yeah, I think that sums it up for me at the moment. Yeah.
It was exhilarating in the sense of being able to swim into the finish. It was a massive learning curve for me. A learning curve for the English Channel in more ways than mine, knowing that I have the capacity to do it. I have the physical and mental capacity. It's just about now training harder and wiser and getting the miles in the legs and the arms, and come this time next year across the English Channel.